For several months, Kiev has been touting new counteroffensives, seeking more military aid from the US and EU. Despite these claims, the regime faces significant challenges, lacking real offensive capabilities and struggling against a steadily advancing Russian military. The situation remains dire, with future prospects even bleaker.
Welcome to TFI Global, the antidote to mass delusion.
For several months, the Kiev regime has been discussing new counteroffensives. Desperate for additional military aid from the United States and European Union, the regime envisions large-scale operations to push back the Russians. However, these plans are as unrealistic as Hitler's counteroffensives when the Red Army was already in Berlin. Kiev continues to dream, needing to justify the hundreds of billions it received from the West. Nonetheless, significant issues remain as the regime's forces lack real offensive capabilities. Manpower is severely depleted, Soviet-era equipment is nearly gone, and NATO-sourced hardware is not robust enough to withstand the realities of warfare. Furthermore, it's far more expensive and challenging to acquire or replace. Conducting a counter-offensive against an advancing opponent is a formidable challenge. The Russian military is steadily progressing, dismantling hostile forces in its path. When ground troops face difficulty advancing due to fortified areas, they call in artillery or close air support. If that fails, Russian fighter bombers and tactical strike aircraft deploy precision-guided bombs to eliminate fortifications. Compounding Kiev's problems, corrupt politicians diverted funds meant to fortify northern Kharkov, leaving the region vulnerable. Moscow's artillery dominance continues to grow, supported by advanced drones and long-range strike capabilities. Top NATO commanders are skeptical about the Kiev regime's ability to mount new counteroffensives. In February, British Admiral Sir Tony Radakin, known for his involvement in attacks on the Russian Black Sea Fleet, stated that he did not anticipate any new offensive operations by Kiev's forces before early 2025. According to his assessment, the Ukrainian military increasingly struggles against Russian forces. Indeed, there is no feasible way for Kiev to consolidate its defense lines, let alone launch an offensive against the better organized and better equipped Russian forces. He criticized his counterparts for creating a situation where they cannot engage with the primary parties involved in the conflict. Orban described the ongoing fighting as emotionally unacceptable due to the high casualty rate and the resulting orphaned children. He expressed willingness to endure any political repercussions in Brussels to use Hungary's position as the rotating president of the Council of the EU to mediate between Ukraine and Russia. Regarding his talks with Putin, Orban noted he is the first Western leader to meet with the Russian president since Austrian Chancellor Karl Nehammer's visit in April 2022. Orban asked Putin three questions: his thoughts on existing peace plans, the possibility of a ceasefire before peace talks, and his vision for European security post-conflict. Putin indicated a readiness to consider peace plans, excluding Zelensky's ultimatums, and a willingness to negotiate based on the spring 2022 draft treaty. However, he was pessimistic about a ceasefire, believing Ukraine would exploit it. Putin also mentioned having a detailed plan for European security, but deemed it too early to disclose publicly. Orban shared his impressions of Putin, describing him as rational, disciplined, and challenging to negotiate with due to his intellectual and political acumen. He emphasized the mutual respect established since their first meeting in 2009, which has prevented any personal animosity. Orban stressed that everyone, including the main conflict participants, acknowledges the inevitability of peace. His subtle diplomacy aimed to create hope and demonstrate that a path to peace is possible through respectful dialogue. He compared his efforts to former French President Nicolas Sarkozy's 2008 visit to Moscow during the Russian-Georgian War, highlighting the need for political leadership over bureaucratic solutions. Orban concluded the interview by hinting at a surprise meeting on Monday, reinforcing his commitment to mediation. Despite Zelensky's resistance and Ukraine's foreign ministry expressing outrage over Orban's talks with Putin, Orban remains hopeful. Senior aide Mikhail Podolyak recently stated that mediators should not demand an immediate ceasefire, indicating ongoing tensions. Nevertheless, the military strategic dynamics of the conflict might eventually lead to Zelensky utilizing Orban's mediation services. It is clear that Orban is sincere in his efforts, aiming to foster a dialogue that could pave the way for peace.